welcome. The point of today's video is I'm going to be doing a project with my quad, and I'm going to be adding a sleeve hitch like you would find on a garden tractor, some of the larger garden tractors. And it's similar to a 3-point hitch, but it just has a pin, and it allows you to put a lot of attachments on a tractor, like a box blade, a scraper, like a plowing equipment that you'd use on like a smaller field. And really there's no one that makes a kit that allows you just to attach a sleeve hitch to a four-wheeler, which is kind of surprising because it's the perfect kind of platform for something like that. So I'm gonna kind of semi-custom fabricate something, and how I'm going to be doing it is I'm going to use it so it fits a standard 2-inch receiver. So it'll be something that can be moved from one vehicle to another if necessary, or if I ever don't need it anymore I could sell it or whatever. And I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit. I'm going to use a sleeve hitch off of a like a riding mower or garden tractor and kind of modify it to fit my application. So here's an example of a sleeve hitch, and as you can see, how it does is this would mount to the back of the tractor, this hinge right here, and then there's another plate that connects to here. And sometimes it's a manual activation. Some tractors have a like pneumatic actuation that can pull this up and down. There's this pin that slides in and out, so you put your attachments over this and slide the pin down. So it allows you to, if it's a blade, lower and raise the blade while you're on the tractor. So obviously right now that's not going to fit the back of the four-wheeler. So there's a couple things I'm going to use to make that work. Alright, so in my case I have a late model Honda Rancher, and it's got the solid rear axle, which is actually going to be an important thing when using any kind of a tool like this. And right now I've got this little setup here that bolts on to the stock kind of circular hitch, and then I welded it to make it so it doesn't move. Well, this isn't going to work anymore, and most manufacturers you can buy an either stock OEM or aftermarket kit that allows you to put a standard 2-inch drawbar on. So this one right here will just, once I take that off, will mount right there and adapt it so I can use a regular 2-inch receiver. So when I'm not using the sleeve hitch, I'll put this on it. That way I'll still have my 2-inch ball, which I need for my log splitter. I've got this attachment here for pulling around some garden stuff. And I've got this new one here, which I can hook like a tow rope or something easily to if I need to drag something. So that'll work good. Then what I plan on doing is I had this lying around. I'm trying to keep this as cheap as possible. So I'm going to use this to slide into it, and it will give me a decent amount of lift on the back here. And I'm going to fabricate that other piece that I just showed you, the sleeve hitch, to this, and then extend this up the back of the forward a little bit, and I'm going to mount an actuator right here. So here's the actuator I got. It says it can push down with a force of around 1,000 pounds and pull with around 900 pounds. So more than enough. We'll see how it holds up. It's I think it's kind of like a Chinese knockoff type thing here, but it wasn't too awfully expensive. So that will connect up here to the other part of the hitch, and then it will connect down here to the actual pivot point so it can pull it up and down, raise it up and down. And what's important about this is you could also use just a regular old, cheaper winch. I've seen a lot of people do that. They've mounted it up here and then, use the winch to raise and lower it. The only thing about that is you don't really have any downward force with a winch, except if you add like some cinder blocks to your attachment. With this, like I said, it has over 1,000 pounds of force. You can actually use this actuator to put a little pressure onto your attachment to hold it down to the ground. That way it just doesn't bounce around. Obviously you don't want to put too much pressure on this because it's not really what it's made for, but I think that'll work a little bit better in the long run than using a winch. And this is cheaper than any winch. It was about $65–70, but I'll put a link for that in the description. Alright, so my first step is just going to be to remove these bolts here. Obviously, depending on what kind of four-wheeler you have, this part will be different for you. And I'm just trying to do this as a little bit of an overview for how I'm going about building this. Some other material I bought was just some flat, or this is like bent steel, and it's 3/16 of an inch, pretty thick stuff. A little piece of flat stock, just in case I need to fabricate something, because I know I'm gonna have to make this go higher here. The problem I'm gonna run into is the angle. Looks like it's gonna hit the top of the rack here. So I probably won't be able to go up that high. I'll probably have to come just shy of that. And this, probably mount pretty low here. We'll weld that on there. Yep. Alright, so now I'm going to use a grinder to get some paint off of some stuff. That way I have a good surface for welding. Fit this actuator on here. I want this when it's fully retracted, which is what it is now. I'd imagine I'd want it a little past straight, that way it can hold it up in the air, since it does have an 8-inch run, so I mean, that's a ton. So really, a hole drilled here, everything kind of test fit. I think that'll work pretty good, like that. Alright, while I'm in the fabrication phase, better check and make sure it runs smoothly. Connect it here. Works really good. Alright, well now it's essentially done. It's painted, it's in place. Got it hooked to the back of the four-wheeler. So now what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and hook the actuator up, and I'm going to wire in the switch. Here's what I'm using for a switch. I bought it on Amazon. It's a motor control momentary switch, and basically I add in this little length of wire. I put a fuse on it so it's going directly to a battery connection. I've got a battery charger connection under the seat of the four-wheeler anyway, and I also use it as an accessory connection for other powered things that I would need to use, like a sprayer. So that'll be my power input right here. It'll go up to the switch, and these are the outputs to the motor. And there's really no particular way to wire it. When you push the switch one way, it puts 12 volts in ground, and then when you go the other way, it reverses the polarity to reverse the actuator. So this could be used for a small winch or an actuator like this. They're controlled the same way. So all you got to do now is install this on the four-wheeler and make the wiring connections here, and then get everything put in place. Up. Alright, well I've got it all wired up. So basically you just push the switch down and it goes down and then up. So I guess the true test will be if it can lift me. I guess we'll find out. So I'm 190 pounds, and as you can see, it's got no problem pulling me up off the ground. Just really puts a load on the suspension, but it works really good. Alright, well, next thing to do is try it out with an implement attached. One thing I might have done a little different if I had to do it over again, which I still could change if I wanted to, but right here, when you put a lot of weight on the seat, it makes this piece of metal hit the plastic like that when you're really loaded up. Now, what I would have done is actually extended this up to here to where it's a little closer. That way, with weight on it, it would have been kind of like a built-in suspension stop, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because then, as soon as you put weight on it, and this bar rested against here, it would keep the ATV from squatting, which would actually make it more rigid, like a tractor actually is, you know, with no suspension. So I may still be able to just add on a little bracket here just to kind of make it so, because otherwise it's going to start damaging this plastic, I think, if I'm hitting a lot of bumps. So something to consider if you're building one of these for yourself and you have a similar setup. Alright, so here's the finished product. Here it is with a blade attached, as you can see, and obviously to actuate it. Just like that, put it down. There's how it looks coming up. Alright, so maybe this gave you an idea what you could do something similar. And like I said, they don't really make anything like this unless you want to pay big money. So all in all, in this part here, I've got less than probably around $200, so not too bad. And obviously all your attachments are going to cost whatever they cost. But alright, leave a comment below if you have a question. Like the video if it helped you out. And please subscribe for more. Thank you.